And even though he did that, like Brother Duncan had poured out, you see that in verse 9 of Judges 11, he told them that only if Jehovah would defeat the Ammonites for him, then he would take that position that they wanted. So even though all that was riding on him, they did him, he still wanted to maintain faith in Jehovah, and he left that choice in Jehovah's hand. Jehovah gives him how to lead.
So let's go on to 8 and 9, see what he may have thought of that helped him to react as a spiritual man, and not let others control his attitude.
Not only was Jephthah a mighty warrior, but he was a student of God's dealing with his people. Jephthah's thorough grasp of Israel's history gave him a clear picture of what was right and what was wrong in Jehovah's eyes. Godly principles that were embedded in the Mosaic law molded Jephthah's thinking as well as his heart. He knew that Jehovah disapproved of holding grudges. Rather, God required that his people love one another. The law also taught that a person must not ignore the needs of others, even of someone who hates him. Examples of faithful ones like Joseph, who showed mercy to his brothers even though they began to hate him, may also have influenced Jephthah's response. Meditating on such examples would have helped Jephthah to choose a course of action that was pleasing to Jehovah. The conduct of his brothers no doubt hurt him deeply, but he would not hold back from serving Jehovah and his people. The fight to defend Jehovah's name was more important to Jephthah than any personal conflicts. He was determined to be faithful to Jehovah, resulting in good for himself and for others.
So we can read Exodus 23:5 for us, Micaiah, and then Leviticus 19:17. Sister Smith. So Exodus 23:5.
If you see that the donkey of someone who hates you has fallen under its load, you must not ignore it and leave. You must help him release the animal.
Leviticus 19:17.
You must not hate your brother in your heart. You should by all means hold your settlement so that you will not bear sin along with him. You must not take vengeance, nor hold a grudge against the sons of your people, and you must love your settlement as yourself. I am Jehovah.
Good, thank you. So what principles in Mosaic law may have helped Jephthah?
The Lord would have that if somebody hated you and their animal was in trouble, you would help their animal. And so how much more would you want to help a human? So Leviticus brought that out. You should help your brother too. So he had these principles in his mind when the people came back to him. And even in Judges 11, he goes over how Jehovah's dealings were with Israel. And when they attack him and say that you took our land away, it's interesting in verses 23 and 24 how he brings out that it was Jehovah who did that. And he reasons with them. He says, if your God gave you land to possess, how would you feel about it? So everyone whom Jehovah our God has driven out from before us is the one that we're going to drive out. So again, he reasoned with them from the scriptures and about how Jehovah dealt with them.
Mosaic law molded Jephthah's thinking as well as his heart. He knew that Jehovah disapproved of holding grudges. Rather, God required that his people love one another.
Brother Florence?
Yeah, we can see that Jephthah was a spiritual man. Reading the scriptures back then, there's a possibility he could have read about Joseph's account and see how he handled his situation with his brothers. Joseph had all the power in the world, and he could have just got rid of his brothers because of what his brothers did to him. But he didn't do that because he had a strong relationship with Jehovah. So this would have been very encouraging to Jephthah.
Jehovah's sovereignty is first, and everything else is secondary, even when it comes to our eternal salvation. But Jehovah comes first.
So this our B part, a little bit more, what was the greatest importance?
The fight to defend Jehovah's name was more important to Jephthah than any personal conflicts.
Go down in December by the way, I can't remember his name, but it's also an important reminder. And it's always that Jehovah's name should be cleared first before any of our problems are out there or anything else that's more important. It's just Jehovah's name to be cleared first.
Let's go on to paragraph.
We will allow Jephthah's example to, will we allow Jephthah's example to touch our hearts? Perhaps we have experienced disappointment or ill treatment from certain Christian brothers. If so, we should not allow such challenges to hold us back from attending Christian meetings or serving Jehovah and being with the congregation to the full. In imitation of Jephthah, we too can allow divine standards to help us overcome negative circumstances and continue to be a force for good.
So how can we allow divine principles to help us act as Christians today? Sister Towns.
Well, as the paragraph brings out that some may have experienced disappointment or ill treatment from certain Christian brothers, but we don't want to allow that to hold us back from attending Christian meetings or serving Jehovah to the full. But in imitation of Jephthah, we want to apply the principle of Colossians 3:13 that says, continue putting up with one another and forgiving one another freely, even if anyone has a cause for complaint against another. Just as Jehovah freely forgave you, you must also do the same.
Brother Smith.
We want to make sure we don't retaliate against Jehovah when something happens to us. Romans chapter 12:21 says, "Do not let yourself be conquered by evil, but keep conquering the evil with good." And what's more good than continuing to serve Jehovah and doing in our service to Him, even when we're under trial circumstances that may be the fault of one of our brothers and sisters.
Brother Johnson.
This is a great reminder from the slave because unfortunately, ones who have perhaps been experienced disappointment from a brother or sister in the congregation or ill treatment from one they respect have led to them not coming to the meetings, drifting, falling back. And you're only hurting yourself in your relationship with Jehovah, which is the most important factor of all. And on one point a brother had brought out, just give it due time. The fact that the person is still in the congregation, it shows that Jehovah's aware. He's aware of whatever ill treatment may have happened, but why are you going to take that out against Jehovah? And then you express that to an individual person, say, no, I'm not taking that out on Jehovah. Well, you are. He asked you to be at the meetings. He asked you to go out and field service. And the person will fall back from doing those things, all in an attempt to avoid the individual who may have did some wrong to him. So this is a great reminder to allow divine standards to help overcome negative circumstances.
Along that thought, when you think about Jephthah, he could have said, he could have had the attitude, it's about me. But it wasn't about him, it was about Jehovah God. And so sometimes when things happen, as Brother Johnson indicated, we got to remember, as much as it might hurt, it's not about us. It's really about our dedication to Jehovah and holding up His name and standards.
Let's go on to willing sacrifices reveal our faith.
Jephthah realized that he would need God's help to free Israel from the Ammonites. He promised Jehovah that if he gave him the victory, he would offer to Jehovah as a burnt offering the first one who came out of his house when he returned home from the battle. What did that offering involve? The sacrificing of humans is something detestable to Jehovah. Thus, it is clear that Jephthah did not intend to sacrifice anyone literally. Under the Mosaic law, a burnt offering was given entirely to Jehovah. So Jephthah evidently meant that he would devote the person to the exclusive service of God. This promise implied permanent service at the tabernacle. Jehovah accepted Jephthah's terms and blessed him with a resounding victory, striking and subduing the enemy. But who would be the person given as a burnt offering to God?
So what vow did Jephthah make, and what did this involve?
He promised Jehovah that if he gave him the victory, he would offer his